I hope everybody's having a good day. Um, I'm having a great day because my grandson decided to come, visit me last night. So he's here, and that means sword fights and playing and having fun. All right, guys. Last night I had some questions, or yeah, yesterday afternoon I had some questions, or some things got brought up, and I just didn't have time to cover them. So I'm going to cover some of those things this morning. I like when you guys ask questions. So we're talking about insulin resistance. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to explain how it's affected all of us. I'll talk about how it affects weight, but I want to talk more about how it affects all of the things on this list above because it's all linked. And even if insulin resistance doesn't start some of it, insulin resistance exacerbates or makes worse. Some of them make insulin resistance worse. What I do know is that there's a number of us that have addressed our insulin resistance and gotten better from everything on that list. So the things we were talking about last night were fasting, food, when to eat, what to eat. Somebody brought up that her blood sugars get high or they're fluctuating throughout the day, that they get really high after she eats and then they come down, and that they're normal the rest of the time, but that she has high blood sugars in the morning and that stays that way for a couple of hours and then it will go back down to normal. So I want to clarify, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any of that. I'm just a woman who got better and started learning why all of this was affecting me when my doctors and everybody else was not giving me answers. It was shocking to me that this woman said all of what she said in this message last night. And she said her doctor can't figure out what's going on. So let's talk about that. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But from my view, I think what's happening with her, and understand that this could be happening with you too. Number one, your blood sugars are not stable all day long. They do rise and fall. So if you're in a metabolically flexible state, you're going to see a nice rise and fall. For me, it runs between 60 on the bottom and 120 on the top, and I'll explain all of that in a little bit. But when you eat, what you're doing is you're taking in energy. The food gets converted into a sugar in the bloodstream. It's not like table sugar, right? It's a sugar that your body uses for energy. So yes, after you eat, your sugars are going to go up. Most people, it stays up for about 2 to 4 hours, depending on what's going on with you, how much sugar you ate, all of that. That's a completely normal response. Now, it will come back down, and this is why we fast, because if you're continually eating, you're continually spiking that blood sugar, and then it stays up all the time. It affects your insulin and how much insulin is in your body. Insulin is like a transport system to take all of that energy and get it to the cells of your body. So every single cell in your body needs energy, okay? Just like your car needs gas, every cell in your body needs energy for it to run. Insulin is just the transporter. So why is insulin such a problem? Because we're eating so much that we're spiking our blood sugar so high, so often, that we're calling on insulin all the time. And now it's constantly in our bloodstream instead of being allowed to rise and fall just like our blood sugars do. And in time, when we're eating every 2 hours, when we're doing all of these high carbohydrate foods, we train our insulin to stay high because it knows, our body knows that it's going to need it to address the sugars that you're just going to keep taking in all day. Stop snacking. Stop eating every 2 hours. There's no science behind all the people who are saying eat every 2 hours. In fact, the science shows the opposite. So I have on my profile up here, I have a recommendations page. There's some books like by Dr. Fung and Dr. Bickman. I'm going to be adding some from Dr. Lee, and or Dr. Yao. I haven't found the one from Dr. Lee yet, but those books will help you understand what's really happening with your metabolism, why you're really sick, because it's not just about the fat. So now when she said she had blood sugars that were high in the morning, hers were going up to about 200. Number one, then the fact that they're going up that high in the morning tells me that she's probably insulin resistant, because she just has a high amount of blood sugar. When the rest of the cells in the body start to get resistant to insulin, then it starts putting it in your fat cells. Your fat cells actually start to get resistant to insulin as well. Now that sugar is all running around in your bloodstream, so your blood sugars are continuously high, right? For her, it's going high and then somewhat normal and then high again. Now, why in the morning? Why first thing in the morning do we have high blood sugars? Even like my blood sugars run about 98 to 102 in the morning. I would love them to be lower, but let's take a look at what's happening. When you, like I normally get up about 5. So I know that between 5 and 8, my blood sugars are going to be the highest they will be outside of when I eat. The reason is your body is very smart. You're a well-oiled machine. So when your body goes, uh-oh, it's time to get up. Have you guys ever woken up before your alarm? Like I woke up dehydrated is one thing, yes, but we're going to talk about this first. So have you guys ever woken up before your alarm went off and you're like, man, it's weekend. I want to sleep in. Why am I still waking up? Because your body is on a clock. Okay. And if you're supposed to be getting up at 5 a.m., your body's going to be like, oh, it's that time of day. We got to get this person up and running. So what happens is that hormone you all hear about called cortisol gets released. Your heart starts pumping a little faster, and your body's releasing stored sugars into your system to give you energy to get up and get your day started. It's called the dawn phenomenon, and that can last for a few hours in the morning. So if you wake up and your blood sugars are high, but 2 hours later they're in normal range, that may be a normal function for you. And the more you become insulin sensitive, the more that spike will calm down and not go as high in the morning. I hope, does that explain anything does that make sense to you guys why that's happening in the morning? So don't panic. Like if you wake up in the morning and your blood sugars are 240, 260, we have a problem. But if your blood sugars are higher in the morning than they are the rest of the day, that's why. It's just the natural process of your body getting ready for the day. And once it's woken this person who wants to go back to sleep up, and you're up and running and you have some breakfast or whatever, then your blood sugars start to come back down and normalize if depending on what you eat. Let's talk about now the timing of what we eat and how the food that's on our plate makes a difference in the order we eat it, because none of us have been told this, or most of us have not been told this. So along with the dawn phenomenon, this thing called insulin that's getting produced when we eat, right? It also has cycles. So it's going to produce, your body's going to produce more sugar, which translates into more insulin at different points during the day. It's going to create more sugar from your food in the morning. Again, your body's trying to get you up and get you going through the day, right? About midday, it's about midway, and in the afternoon, it starts to slow down again. Your body's calming down for the day. So you can eat the same sausage and eggs and maybe a piece of toast at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to affect your blood sugars differently. It'll be higher in the morning than it will be in the afternoon for most people, depending on what your lifestyle looks like. So I do some intermittent fasting. So I generally do a 16-8. I think I had my dinner late last night at about 7:30. So I'm just now 13 hours into a fast, which means I have about 3 hours more before I'll eat. But during this time, my body is releasing sugar from stored fats so that I have energy to run. I don't feel tired. I don't feel crabby, any of that. But when I do eat now, which will be about midday, remember about midday after you've been up for several hours, is when your food is converting into sugar about midline. Even at that, because I want to keep the insulin levels down, I'm going to have protein first and then fats, and then I'll limit my carbs if I have carbs at all at that meal. But before I eat anything, every time I eat, I have fibers in first. So I always do fiber first, and then I prioritize protein, and then I fill up with healthy fats, and then I go to my carbohydrates. So that would be my break fast at about noon. And for me, it's probably going to be today. Usually I do like chicken, or not, I usually do eggs and sausage, which is chicken, right? But today I'm probably going to have chicken and green beans. I eat pretty simply. You can expand on that more. In the evening, I think I'm having shrimp and Brussels sprouts and something else. But that's my day. Other days to this for 3 days, I'm trying to really keep the carbs low, but most days I don't worry about it. If I want to have a ham sandwich with my grandson, I have a ham sandwich. I just get the fiber first, make sure that I'm getting in protein. Now, as far as what goes on your plate, you guys, it makes a difference. So, and dehydration does make a difference too, Sally. You're absolutely correct. You guys have got to stay hydrated. Your body cannot work when it doesn't have the fluids. Your body is greatly fluid. You are a lot of water. I'm not talking you have to drink 2 gallons of water a day, but most people are drinking fluids that are dehydrating them and not hydrating well. So make sure you're getting in electrolytes. There's a number of sources out there now. I'm not a representative for them, but LMNT is a great source for electrolytes, and that will help your body. We'll talk about salts later. Okay, so the order you're putting food on your plate, that very order, if you were to take the same plate of food, and I've got to get his name. There are a number of people who have actually done tests with their continuous glucose monitors to show that this is what happens. And there's some science behind it. So when you eat proteins, so fiber first, fiber is protecting your gut from all the sugars that are about to hit it. And when you eat protein, some of that is converting into sugars in your system. Okay. So it's not all, when you eat a steak, it's not all just protein that's going to your muscles. When it gets into your body, a certain amount of that's going to convert into energy. And by the way, excess protein. So when you're eating too much protein, and how do you know you're not insulin resistant? That would be my first question. But when you're eating too much protein, after your body utilizes what it can, which is for most people about 30 to 40 grams, it's going to start to do one of two things. It's going to eliminate the protein, and it has to create this chemical called urea that then your kidneys have to push out. Now, if you're doing that too often, it's causing a load on your kidneys. But then even after that, there's a certain amount of that protein that's going to get converted into fat. What tests did he run? Did he run a fasting insulin test? And do you have your labs? We can take a look at something that can give you a clue if you're up for it. So too much, he ran a fasting insulin. So take your labs, if you've got them, and find your lipid panel, divide your triglycerides. Sorry, I'm thinking about your migraine and trying to do the calculation, and my brain just went, what? So take your triglycerides and divide them by the HDL, and let's see what that number is. That's another indicator. So there are other indicators on your body. Sorry, we're taking a little detour because I want to. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot diagnose you. I cannot do any of that. I want to be very clear, but we can workshop some things and see if we can help you find direction. My wheelhouse is insulin resistance. So if we get to the point where, well, it's obviously not insulin resistance, then you'll have to go to a specialist, probably a neurologist, to see what's going on. But insulin resistance, you guys, causes a lot of problems in the brain. So we can go over that in a little bit. But when you have that number, let me know. So there's some of the other symptoms of insulin resistance. You know, everybody talks about the extreme thirst and having to pee all the time. Well, you're pretty insulin resistant by that time. If you're having skin tags, if you're having dark skin patches, that's insulin resistance. If you have PCOS or erectile dysfunction, those are most likely insulin resistance. If you have a high blood pressure of 130 over 80 or higher, especially along with those migraines, I'm going to say that you're still probably insulin resistant. 95% of hypertension is caused by insulin resistance. So, also if you have a bulging belly that's poking out, whether you're heavy or thin, that's insulin resistance. If you're having cravings and whatnot for sugars and salty foods, that's likely insulin resistance. If you're tired after you eat, if you just get this brain fog that won't go away, you get vertigo, you have periodontitis that won't go away no matter how many times you get your teeth cleaned, those are all signs of insulin resistance as well. So neurologically, when you're insulin resistant, and I want to step back a second. So a fasting insulin test is a great test to run, but some scientists are starting to say that it's not always as accurate as they would like it to be, that there can still be a problem even if that test is showing normal. So I don't have all the answers on that. I do know that it's a great test to help, but if you're having the symptoms and those tests are not showing up the way that your doctor would like them to say that you're insulin resistant, let's take another step back and understand that this whole thing is all about the food we eat. I did talk yesterday about how it can be about the stress in our life as well, right? So we're going to talk about that today. So if we're talking about the fact that all of the symptoms that I just mentioned and all of these up here are caused by insulin resistance, we know that the food we eat is imperfect. Why? Because it's been stripped of nutrients, enzymes, and fibers. Um, and fibers is the biggest key, okay? We know that we're eating too often. We know that that food is converting into sugar in our system way quicker. Thank you for all the loves, whoever that is. Um, we know that's converting into sugars in our system too quickly. So the first steps requires no medication, causes no ill health, is to add fiber in before you eat. Do the things that I talked about, fiber first, protein, then fats, and then carbohydrates. Your body will start to re-regulate. Do some intermittent fasting to allow the insulin to come down. Again, that's going to help the body to re-regulate. None of that takes a medical diagnosis. None of that requires a medication. None of that requires damaging your body. So if you're having any inclination that, hey, I want to if you just want to be like, I just want to try what I need to do, that's a pretty simple step, right? If we understand all of that and we understand that just those simple steps can change all of it without the medications, without that, keep working with your doctor. But what if you added fiber in, you did the meals the way I just mentioned, that you did some intermittent fasting, and that you got some movement in your body and those migraines started to relieve? Would that be magic for you? Without all the medications, without all of that. I'm not saying that it's going to, but I'm saying what if? What if it did work? So there's that. Now, the second piece that none of us talk about very much with insulin resistance, and I'm sorry because I haven't either, is stress, infections, and injuries. When your body has an inflammatory response, it makes you more likely to be insulin resistant. And ladies, that means when you're pregnant, right? You're actually in a slight state of insulin resistance normally when you're pregnant. So if you've had a surgery, if you fell and broke a bone, if you just had a head trauma, if you're not getting enough sleep, all of that stress and trauma in your body creates a more likelihood that you're going to be insulin resistant, even if you haven't changed what you're eating. So even if you're eating all the good things and you're doing all the right things and you have all that other stuff go on, it could push you more towards insulin resistance. So it really is about the food we eat, about taking care of our bodies, about being very mindful with ourselves. So this is not, has nothing to do with, and I'm going to tell you guys a protocol that I used to help me with all of that. But this has nothing to do with that. But I'm going to tell you, for me, And for the people in my tribe, this is what I would invite for you to start taking more accountability for yourself. I'm not saying make yourself bad. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I should have done better. I'm saying understand yourself more, pay more attention to what's happening with you instead of just giving up and running to somebody who doesn't have answers anyway and is likely to just throw you on medications and run you through a bunch of tests that you don't understand. Now, when you're sick, should you go to the doctor? Yes. When you're sick, should you be very aware of what's happening in your body and in your life that's going to contribute to that? Yes. We're no longer toddlers who need mommy and daddy to pick us up and change our bottoms anymore. We are full grown adults and we have some responsibility in our lives. That means get to bed, get 8 hours of sleep, turn off the electronics, to get rid of the toxicity in your life. If you have people that are toxic in your life, that constant stress can actually increase your insulin resistance as well. That kind of constant stress can cause inflammation in your body. Start taking care of yourself in a way that you have never done before and be very self-aware, and that will help you along the way with all of this. Okay? So, and you know what? I used to be a power lifter and I worked out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day up until about 4 or 5 years ago when I started losing joints. And I was like, okay, now I didn't lose the joints because of the powerlifting. I lost the joints because of insulin resistance and some trauma that had happened in my life. I became very highly insulin resistant. I had trauma that knocked me out, gave me a pretty bad concussion. I've had 20 broken bones in my body. I've had 130 inches of scarring across my body. Does insulin resistance and the propensity for me to be insulin resistant look different from someone who's never had an injury? Absolutely, it does. So when we talk about weight loss and getting healthier, I want everybody to understand you are unique. That's why I say take stock in who you are and understand what your life is, because your response is going to be very different than someone else's. Just because some gym bro or some young guy got heavy and dropped all his weight really quickly, for a woman that's not going to translate. For somebody who's had a lot of trauma, whether it be physical injury or whether it be emotional trauma, that's going to translate very differently in insulin resistance. So all of this is driven by hormones and not just those other things. The things we can control are stress and inflammation and the food that we eat. So there's that. Okay. All right. So for the most part, the biggest part, insulin resistance is caused by us eating the wrong foods because it's what's on our plate. And so when I say that, it's not just our packaged foods, it's not just the fast foods that we're eating, it's our raw organic foods. I saved a video that was on my screen today, and even though I think she's speaking in Punjabi, I didn't get to hear it. She had some natural grown cantaloupe, and she had a cantaloupe from the store. The natural grown cantaloupe was about the size of her fist, and the cantaloupe from the store was 3 to 4 times that size. So even if you go to the organic part, your fruits and vegetables may be a little bit smaller, but they're still going to be modified. Thank you guys for all the loves. So even when we're eating what we think is raw organic food, we're still not getting the nutrition that we did 100 years ago that our bodies need, because in our wisdom, facetious word, as humans, we decided we wanted food to be bigger. We wanted it to taste juicier. Like we have this bigger is better mentality. So you go to the store and you pick up an apple and one's tiny and it's crunchy and it's bitter. And then there's this big, juicy, red, delicious. Who was doing it? I think it was Dr. Gundry, actually. I was watching something he put out, and he was talking about why do they call it honey crisp apples? Why do they call it whatever the anyway? It's because they have been stripped of fibers and nutrients, and they've been pumped up with glucose to get them to the big juicy state that we have now. When you look at natural apples from back in the day, they were tiny, They were hard. They weren't like run down your face juicy. They were hard and they were a bit bitter. Now, if you cut them up and used them in the cooking or in other dishes, great. But we've removed all of that out of our food. So if you're doing raw organic or you're doing vegan or you're doing pescatarian, you're doing a better thing for yourself, right? But not everybody does well with vegan. So there's people who are anywhere on the scale. I eat what I would consider a balance between proteins and fruits and vegetables. I eat very little fruit actually, and I eat more to the dark green side of vegetables, although I like to get in a variety. So even if we're doing all of those things, we can get sick. And that's what happened to me. I was doing all of those things. I was watching everything that I ate. I had the medical medium. I was making these shakes with all of these components in it. And I actually had like a spreadsheet of all the stuff and the amounts that I had to put in this shake to try and affect my health. And I wasn't getting better. In desperation, I don't think it was in desperation that I was on TikTok. I was just like zoning out one night and I found this protocol that I used 2.5 years ago, reversed my diabetes, reversed my hypertension, helped me lose 55 pounds, reversed my sleep apnea, and a number of other things along the way. Got rid of my skin tags, my dark skin patches, helped my gut. My IBS has been healing over the last 2 years and it's almost normalized now. All of those things, the gut health and everything that goes along with it, comes from the fact that our foods are imperfect. So what the protocol is simple. It's real food products, and I mix it in water, and that's what I'm drinking now. So I drink a tea in the morning, every morning. The tea does not break my fast. It's a South American plant called yerba mate, but there's 375 times the yerba mate components that we're trying to get to you in this tea than in any bagged tea. Plus, it's gone through a process that helps remove toxins from it. So I just did a video last night on oxidative stress. One of the ways that they're looking at helping oxidative stress is food and actually fiber, helping to keep you cleaned out so that that stress isn't building up, and antioxidants. Well, one of the reasons the tea is part of this system is this particular tea is extremely high in antioxidants. It's also extremely high in anti-cancer properties. It acts like a natural statin in your body. So it's helping you clean out. It's helping you with ketones. I'm not going to say it's going to help with HGH. It's going to help you with ketones when you're in a shortened fasted state, an intermittent fasted state. I've drank the tea on a 5, 7, and 10-day fast and been amazing. It shuts down your hunger. It gives you energy, gives you those antioxidants and anti-cancer properties. Plus, it gives you saponins, which are the things in the reishi tea that everybody's raving about. It has all of that in this tea. So that's what I drink every morning. I'm not hungry. I have mental clarity. I have energy that's not like throwing me up against the wall and then dropping me on the floor. And that's it. That's how I start my day. Remember, your blood sugars have the chance to go the highest in the morning. So I'm just not putting anything in my body that's going to make those blood sugars go up higher and create this insulin resistance. Now, about noon, when I'm ready to eat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a fiber matrix. So for me, again, and for simplicity, it's packed in this. So I do 1 packet of this and about this much water. I just shake it up, drink it 10 minutes before I eat. Now I have the specific blend of fibers that I need to slow down sugars, to slow down fats, to help me feel full, to help coat my tummy so that I don't have all this acidicness. And so I get fuller quicker, I stay fuller longer, my blood sugar spikes never go as high, and now I'm starting to really impact my insulin resistance. And when I do eat, remember, my first meal is proteins and fats. My second meal is proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. But always, no matter what I eat, I have one of these. The reason is the system comes with a tea in the morning and 2 of these, one for each of the 2 biggest meals of the day. But because it's real food and because it's causing health in the body, I never have to worry about, can I have an extra one? Yes, I can. Do I drink more than one of the tea in a day? Yes, I do. because when I understand that it's getting things to my brain that are helping with, like whoever was talking about migraines earlier, I was starting to get migraines. I don't get them now. My allergies are better. My swelling is gone. So many things have changed, and it's just those three things. Two products at 3 points during the day that are natural food products that are giving you health back and allowing your body to do the healing that it's meant to do. So, if you want to not have to take medications and still impact your health, why not? So, if you're suffering with any of those things, also, I'm going to ask you, um, would it be worth your time and your effort to just try feeding your body by giving your body what it needs, what it's missing so that it can heal? I'm going to go back to, oh, by the way, the protocol is all, if you go to my profile and tap on the picture up there, there's going to be a box come up down below. When that comes up, you will be able to see my landing page, and the protocol is at the very top. It's important, before I go back on to insulin resistance and all the stuff, it's important that you purchase it from somebody who's authorized, and I am. You'll get me for a coach. You get a 90-day money-back guarantee. You get a quality guarantee. We test it at 3 points before it ever comes out to you to make sure that it has everything that it says that it has in it, or it doesn't ever come out to you. And then you get a low price guarantee. You won't get it for a lower price anywhere than you get with me. So I've had a number of people go like, well, and I get it. I'm an Amazon shopper too. And we get hooked by, we think it's going to be quicker. But I've had a number of people who bought off of Amazon and said, I've been doing the system for 2 months and you've never called me. Did you? And by the way, the guarantees and whatnot don't apply when you buy from Amazon because they're not authorized distributors. So make sure that you're buying it from somebody reputable. Now, back to the whole thing of insulin resistance and what's happening. I haven't talked about gut health for a while. I don't know why I feel like I want to talk about gut health this morning, but when we talk about, probably because of oxidative stress, which is what I'm talking about this week. Sure. So you guys, let's show, somebody just asked how to get the link to purchase. It's, if you found my number, you can probably find the link. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to switch over here for a second. Give me 1 second. So if you tap on my link on Face or on TikTok, you're going to see, oh, come on. You're going to see that I'm not, I don't have control of myself this morning. Okay. So you'll get to my TikTok profile. And then right at the very top of the profile, right under my picture, you're going to see this red lights, these red lights. Right below these red lights is this link. When you click on that link, that's going to bring up my landing page, which looks a little something like this. Sunshine, sunflowers, blue skies, because that's how I feel now. All right. So the system is right here. That's all you have to do is push that button. That will get you to the system. And so let's just walk through that really quick. When you click that, my given name is Michelle. I've been going by Misha for 30 years, but that's my legal name, right? Make sure it says Michelle, and you're just going to click the Buy Now button. If you're on your phone, it's all going to be stacked and not off to the side. That's going to get you to this page. 30 tea, 60 of the pre-meal drink. The tea, by the way, we didn't talk about this. It comes in lemon or lemon ginger. I would leave it on lemon when you start. The pre-meal drink comes in apple crush. This is limited time. It's almost out. So if you want to try it now, because in a month you probably won't be able to get that. The orange is available all the time. Orange tastes like a creamsicle. Apple crush is kind of more like it's kind of like an apple crisp, because it's like a little bit sweet, a little bit tart, not very, but a very apple flavor. So then if you leave it on subscription, that's going to give you $5 off the cost. It does cost about $159 a month, $154 on subscription, around $5 a day. So you get the $5 off, you get free shipping, and you get this hand mixture the first month when you do all of that. And I'm going to come back here because right here you'll see you can cancel it at any time. And that means at any time. So say your shipment ships out tomorrow and you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, you can cancel the subscription. If you get 6 months in and you like, I had something happen and my money's not right and I need to skip a month, you can do that. You can change the dates. So just save yourself the money. That's the goal. All right. Because I want people healthy, but I don't want you spending more than you have to. Okay. So I hope that helped you answer where you're going to find it. And then let's go back to insulin resistance talk. You guys, I really love, if you don't know, I really love talking about this. And I know that I had a couple of days this week where I did not get videos out, oversight on my part, but I'll be getting some more videos out today. And we're going to talk about more about how insulin resistance links to pain and what's going on in your body with all of that. By the way, it causes so much, like I was talking about, in the brain. One of the things I love about the tea is this. When we become insulin resistant, we start having that insulin resistance in our brain, but it also causes problems with our blood-brain barrier. Chlorogenic acids is one of the components that can actually get across the blood-brain barrier because it's so beneficial for the brain. And there's 375 times the chlorogenic acids in that tea than there are in a normal tea, bagged herbal mate tea. So it just does this great job for the brain and helping you feel, and it's not just about mental clarity, it's about helping you feel happy and fulfilled and less crabby and anxious and depressed and like you're going to have a panic attack. So does anybody want to see, well, let's talk about the people. I'm going to get this picture back up. Let's talk about the people in the picture up above. Where did it go? I took way too many pictures and didn't get. Halloween was fun. We had a great time. So there's a lot of Halloween pictures on my phone right now. Okay, so I'm on the left. I started out at about 270 pounds. I'm down to like 212. So I've lost over 50 pounds, but more than the weight that I've lost, I couldn't go up and down stairs. I had a walker and a cane. I had disability plates. I would get crabby if you told me there was stairs involved, not because like I'm lazy, because it hurt. And I'm going to invite people to understand that when people are crabby about some of those things, it's not because like, oh, I just don't want to. How about we start understanding that people are in pain? There's a lot of pain that goes along with some of that. So that was me. I reversed my diabetes completely. I reversed my sleep apnea. I reversed my hypertension. I'm not on any medications and haven't been for 2.5 years. I have not one prescription in my home outside of some hormone replacement because I'm 59. Now, my lovely lady in the middle, she's lost over 50 pounds, suffered from severe anxiety and depression, although she still has some anxiety and depression because she has enormous things going on in her life. She is much better maintained than she was before. She has more energy. Her body doesn't hurt. Her sleep apnea is gone. And her hypertension is getting under control. And she hasn't even been on it a year yet. Cindy over on the right has lost over 120 pounds. She has reversed a number of things with her health. Now look though, Cindy at being over 120 pounds overweight, and me, my A1C was 7.4, hers was only 5.9. Weight is not an indicator of how insulin resistant you are as far as what's going on in your blood. Your body, this is, I want to talk about this because I think it's interesting. How many of you guys think that you have the same fat cells that you were born with and that they're just getting big or small? And how many of your doctors have told you that you never make more fat cells than the ones you were born with? The fat you have as a baby is an indicator of how fat you're going to be when you're older. And that's it. You have those fat cells and either you're pumping them up or letting them deflate. Because it's not true. it's true for some people. For some people, you have this thing called hyperplastic fat cells, which means that your fat cells are replicating. So some people can eat and have all the sugar in their system and get heavier and heavier and heavier because their fat cells are replicating. And then only when the fat cells are like, okay, that's enough, and they're getting full, does that sugar start coming back out into the bloodstream, and then their blood sugar levels start to come up. Been insulin resistant for a long time, but it's not showing up in her numbers. I was heavy, not as heavy, but my numbers were out of control. And I have another gal who was only mildly, she was only maybe 30, 35 pounds overweight, and her numbers were higher than mine. I think her numbers were 11.1 for her A1C. Mine was 7.4. Hers was 5.9 at this point. Okay, so just barely into pre-diabetes. So the weight, you can be much thinner and be very insulin resistant, or be on the verge of diabetes, or you can be heavier and not show those clinical signs as early. It's not necessarily the weight that's causing the insulin resistance. However, this conundrum that we have, when we have excess fat cells, the fat cells are starting to cause inflammatory markers in your body. So excess fat means like an inflammation system in your body. So now it's like fighting itself. So when they used to say fat creates insulin resistance, there's some truth to that, in that when you have the excess fat, it's creating more and more and more likelihood of excess insulin resistance. But you had to have excess insulin to store the fat in the first place. So I want you to understand that. All right, any questions? Does anybody have any questions about anything up here? Anybody suffering with like erectile dysfunction, PCOS, sleep apnea, acne, skin tags, muscle loss, arthritis, depression, anxiety? You guys, this can even affect Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism. I'm not saying that this causes autism. However, science is starting to link insulin resistance to autism more heavily in a number of ways, especially as an insulin resistant mother and an insulin resistant father have a more likelihood of having an autistic child than those who are not. So there's a big link. Also, gout, kidney issues, liver issues, gallbladder issues. So have you guys all seen the lawsuits that are going on out there against Ozempic, Wegovy, Trulicity, all of those things? Like, they did pretty good about warning you of all the other dangers, but they didn't tell you about the gallbladder. And so now there's a ton of lawsuits out of those. Okay, so I have an erectile dysfunction over here. I have almost all of those over here. Cinnamon, you can, the tea that I drink, you can actually add cinnamon in it. It's not going to break your fast, and it's actually great for your vascularity and your metabolism. Cinnamon is an herb that I love for that. And yes, you can absolutely add cinnamon to the tea and still be in a fasted state and actually help amplify how it works in your body. Now, I'm going to deal with the erectile dysfunction first because that one came in first. So erectile dysfunction, as we're having this system where we're putting on weight because we have insulin resistance. So we have too much food converting into sugar too quickly. The cells become resistant. So now the insulin is storing it in your storehouses, called your fat cells. For men, what happens is, of course, I have to say this because no, but we have a money back guarantee. So you just try it. None of the flavors are bad. And then if you want to try a different flavor the next month, you do that. But all right, erectile dysfunction. So when you're putting on fat, we're gonna take another step back. All of our hormones start out as androgens, and we all start out as males, right? So all of our hormones, male or female, whether we're a female or a man, start out as androgens, and then they get converted to the estrogens. Okay, so in a man, what's happening? Your testicles don't like you to convert very much of that into estrogen because you're a man, right? You want all that testosterone. But as you gain fat, your fat cells actually start to act like ovaries in the body, and they start allowing more testosterone to be converted to estrogen. Now you have man boobs and you have love handles, and you are having vascularity issues. So you're having the erectile dysfunction. You likely have low testosterone, and most of it started with your insulin resistance. So I have a number of guys. I think in my website there's one from a school teacher, David, who had low testosterone and erectile dysfunction, and within 3 months on the system, his function regained, and he had told his doctor he didn't want to go on the hormone therapy. He wanted to give the system a try, and by reducing the insulin, reducing the fat load on his body, allowing him to retain his own testosterone, his testosterone levels became back to normal without any exogenous testosterone, and his function came back. I have another guy. I don't see him in here this morning. He's probably working, and I don't have his picture up, but I can certainly go find it. Jason. Oh, I do have his picture. So, and Jason talks more openly about this now, so I'm okay with sharing it because he's given me the approval to talk about it. But he was suffering with erectile dysfunction and low testosterone, as well as sleep apnea and a number of other things when he started. When Jason and I found each other, his doctor was trying to put him on medications. They were trying to get him to go do the gastric band surgery. He was closing in on 400 pounds, and he was just extremely unhealthy, and it was not looking good for Jason. And he never in the beginning talked to me about the erectile dysfunction, right? He never talked to me about the low testosterone. Guys, stop taking it personal. You've been set up. You've been given food that's causing problems, and it's not your fault. It's just not your fault. So his function is back. His testosterone levels are normal. This is an old picture of him. Jason is now down 170 pounds. That A1C, so I've got to go in and redo these slides now because that A1C at 13.3 for Jason is now 5.6. So he started out in a death range for his A1C, and he's now in a normal range. And he's never done a medication. And that I have so many times when he calls me and he's like, I'm so glad I listened to you and that I didn't go have that surgery. Because his doctors are like, how did you lose this weight without the surgery? And when he tells them it's just this simple system, a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before he eats anything, he was able to get his sugar cravings under control, his mood under control, lose the weight. He was not up and walking around and doing any exercise when I met him. Now he has a brand new puppy. He takes her out for walks. He does all the stuff. So it can make a huge change in your life for sure. Um, Now, I'm going to call you Cynthia because I don't know that I'm going to say your first name right. Cynthia, you just clocked 40 and struggle with your weight. So, can we talk about why this affects women so much differently than it does men? Because, Cynthia, um, what happens as women, it's like another negative. Insulin resistance creates all these negative feedback loops, but with women, so I'm 59 and was struggling with all that too. Most of these ladies are older, so this is another picture of me before, right? So estrogen is actually in women, it's a protectant from insulin. So if you have normal high levels of estrogen, you're less likely to become insulin resistant because the estrogen is kind of regulating that insulin and being like, not today, bully. It can't do it all the time. But as we age and as we start to produce less and less estrogen, we start to become more and more insulin resistant because there's just too much insulin in the system. And then it gets to be this whole battle, right? Because now, for women, what happens is when we start to become insulin resistant and we're still having a cycle, it's preventing testosterone being changed into estrogen. So now, once we hit that break point, our body's producing even less estrogen, not just because of age, but because of the insulin resistance. So now we're having more testosterone. Do you struggle with things like your hairline starting to recede, you having more aggressive thoughts and behaviors, the weight that comes on that you can't get off, um, excess hair like little goat hairs on your face and chin. All of those things are symptoms of this dysregulation of insulin in females with the hormones. Oops, I lost my mind for a second. So there's that. So there's part of it is natural aging process. Part of it is insulin resistance is pushing you that way further. The other thing is that when you're insulin resistant, it's kind of like it builds. So if you look at your floors and you don't ever wash your floors, this gunk starts to build up on them, right? And pretty soon it's just like this, or the bottom of your shower. And you get this gunk in the bottom of your shower that now is really hard to clean. And it's like, ick, I don't want to go in there. Over time, with this high level of insulin in your body, that's what's happening is we're having this excess insulin that's impeding things, and it gets worse and worse as we age. So it may look different in somebody who's younger, 18, 19, 20, 30 years old. But when we start hitting this age of now we're in our 50s, now we're in our 40s, it changes completely. So it's even more important to address the problem with our food and that it's converting to sugars too quickly and that we need to just stop all that madness. So that will help tremendously. There's so many things that go along with that. That's kind of a really brief, over the top explanation, but I hope it helps understand. Women's bodies just react differently. By the way, one thing that I found interesting in looking up all of this stuff is because I suffered with really bad, come on, brain fog. There it is. No, but I had really bad brain fog early in my life. I had been tested. My IQ was really high. And then at some point in my 50s, I was like, I can't put a thought together to save my life. Part of it is insulin resistance, and part of it is aging with that estrogen level lowering. And it starts to cause this switch where generally women have a better IQ as they're younger, or the propensity to use it. And as we get older, that switches. So it's not as drastic in men. And so, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship where the woman has been already pretty sharp, and all of a sudden she just can't remember things, and the guy's frustrated, like, what happened to my wife? And the wife is like, what's happening to my brain? All of that happens with estrogen and insulin resistance. So for me, I changed it just by getting my insulin resistance under control. My brain fog left. I started having, I could remember things again, and it changed my life and made me feel like me again. Now, I'm going to be super honest, okay, for ladies. I tried to do this without any hormone replacement, but at some point I'm like, I'm fighting an uphill battle. I already know at 60 years old, my body just is not producing enough estrogen. I'd had insulin resistance for so long. My body's struggling to get back to where it should be. So the one thing that I do is I do some hormone therapy, estrogen and progesterone, because of my age. And then I will never, ever, ever be without the insulin resistance tools, the protocol that I use, because it changed my life. Again, just go to my profile to find it. Click on the link there. If you want to try it, then I will be your coach and I will help you out along the way, like I've done for so many others. So there's that. All right, guys. I have a little grandson who blessed me with his presence last night. I can never say no to this boy, and he and I both know it. But he had school off today up in this school district, and so he decided last night that he wanted to come hang out with Nana. So he's out on the couch waiting for me. Anyway, does anybody have any questions that I could answer for you? Anything you need me to go over more thoroughly? I'll try to come back in the morning and do it. I don't normally come live on Saturdays, but I will. Just if you have people who need to hear this, let me just bring them along. I'll get some more videos up. This week we're dealing with pain and inflammation. And I'll get some more videos up explaining how insulin resistance is causing that, or how it's linked to that, so that you guys can have a better understanding. And ask questions, interact, so I know what to give you guys, so I know what you guys need. And thank you for hanging out with me this morning. One more time, does anybody have any questions about how any of this relates? Does this work like berberine? It works. It's even better than berberine. So let's talk about it. I did berberine. I did black seed oil. I did like kale, and I did all these crazy things. So I want to bring it back a step. We have a gal up in Toronto. I absolutely love her. She had a natural healing clinic where she did protocols, including the berberine and all of that stuff. Pretty long protocol of stuff that she was doing based on what the people were suffering with. Once she found this protocol, the tea in the morning and the two pre-meal drinks, and she started having her people do that, they eventually came off of those long protocols with all those other things and just started doing this. And then she was like, huh, now she just has, when her clients come in, she has them do the protocol that we're doing now, because it's so much easier. Look at, if you have to go someplace, travel overseas, if you're going someplace unexpected, I just keep packets of this in the side pocket of my purse at all times. If I go out to eat, sometimes I have a bottle with me, sometimes I just stir it up in a glass of water and drink it. It's easy. It's in a packet that's portable, that doesn't have to have you measuring things and all of that. And it's always with me, and it always works no matter where I'm at. Berberine and some of those things that I was doing before, it got to be hard to um, try and take that whole protocol with me. So this is berberine is having a different action in the body for the blood sugars. This is addressing the blood sugars by stopping them from spiking from the get-go, because it's adding a I call it a prophylactic. So it's giving you this gel matrix in your gut that then holds on to those sugars and doesn't allow them to hit the digestive tract as quickly, I mean past the gut, the stomach, so that it's not spiking your blood sugars as high. So yeah, it is convenient. That's one of the things I love about it. Now, I was going to go to Turkey, but with the conflict, I'm not going to go. I decided it was a hard decision, but I'm not going to go. But I am going to go to Washington State next week to visit my grandkids. So for the 5 days that I'm gone next week, do I want to worry about taking a canister of stuff and like 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of pills or powders or whatever, or finding them when I get there? No, I don't. So what I do is I just take a baggie and I count out my days and I put enough in there for those days, and then I either add an extra half that much or double, because look, it's their birthday. We're gonna have cake and ice cream, right? There's an amazing Mexican restaurant there that I love. Can't get that kind of food out here in Maryland. We're gonna go there for dinner. I'm sure we're gonna be doing like Maui steaks and probably, I don't know, twice baked potatoes and stuff for the girls' birthdays. Who knows? But all I know is I just take this with me, and no matter what we eat, no matter what we're doing, I aim for a 16-8 fast. But if when I'm with them, I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, um, then I just have this before everything I eat, and that's it. Yeah. So this makes it, and then I can put this in my purse, in my carry-on. And when I'm sitting on a plane on a long flight, I just ask them for some extra water. Always take an extra, not this one. I'm one of those ladies who has a ton of stainless steel mugs around, but I have the ones with the flip top lid, and I usually keep that in my carry-on. So then I just have the stewardesses fill it up with water. If I want a tea on the plane, this is what I drink. If they're serving a meal and I need to have my pre-meal drink, I just mix it up in one of their little glasses of water, and that's it. It just goes with me, and it's super simple. That's part of the gold for me, you guys. This thing is about simplicity and sustainability, okay? We know we can do things with the hard way, with all the watching every bite we eat, but I know I tried that for years, and it gets, with as much as I travel and as busy as I am, it gets difficult. So this just makes my life easy. I can eat whatever I want when I want. I just follow those same principles of fiber first. I prioritize protein every meal. I'm not a big rice and pasta eater anyway. I get in healthy fats with every meal. I limit my carbohydrates. I try to do some intermittent fasting, and I get movement in my body. That's going to help tremendously. And this goes right along with all of that. You guys can find it in my profile link up there. I'm going to go have a sword fight with this 7-year-old. You're very welcome. And my website is on that link too. So if you want to dive into more about the properties of the tea and the pre-meal drink and why they work, there's some science videos in my website. There's a number of information on how they help you on the website. So you can check the website out. You can order from the website or just direct from the link. I appreciate you all. And then also my contact number is there. So you look through, and I think it's on my website as well. So you look through the website and whatnot, you have questions, text me. I will answer you. I actually do answer. So, all right, guys, thank you. I'm going to go enjoy him because he's such a patient, sweet boy. All right, we'll talk to you all later. Have a great day, guys.